What I wanted to talk about today is the issue of how clearly should you announce your intentions in dating. So that is to say, how upfront should you be, or how obvious should you make it that you are into this particular girl, who you're interested in, who you are trying to make something happen with, okay? And my answer to that, spoiler alert, is that you absolutely should be very, very clear in your intentions, okay? It's imperative that you are clear in your intent when you go into an interaction with a girl, a woman that you are interested in, okay? You need to ensure that it's out there on the table in front of you. No, nothing physical out there on the table in front of you, but your intentions do need to be clear, and we're going to be going into that in more detail in this episode of the show. Before that, any notices from me, any announcements? Not a great deal, really, to be honest. CAD Academy, which closed, a couple of weeks ago now, we did all of the webinars last week. We did Zoom webinars every day, Monday to Friday, twice a day, with the guys from CAD Academy who enrolled in the course, and it was awesome. They were really, really good. It was a lot of fun. It was a great group of guys, and most of those have gone into a Telegram chat group, and there's also a Facebook group for people who were in the course, and I'm going to be putting out new content onto those channels going forward. So yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Now, it's likely that I'll be opening up CAD Academy again at some point, but not for a while yet, so it's going to be later in the summer probably. But it was really good. Really, really like this model of doing Zoom webinars with a private group, because what it means is that you can be a bit more candid perhaps than you're going to be, say, on YouTube or on some sort of public forum, because it's completely private. Nobody else can get in apart from the people in the group. So yeah, you can all talk and share. And, we have Myron Gaines from Pandemic Pickup in there on a couple of the days. We also had John, Modern Life Dating, coming in on the last session. So we had some really, really great sessions where, obviously I was sharing my pearls of wisdom, but other people in the group also equally were as well. And it was a really great meeting of minds. And I hope everyone got a lot from it. I think they did, getting some really good testimonials coming through and so on and so forth. So I was doing that last week. That was kind of tiring, to be honest. It's sort of twice a day going live, and we were on for an hour and a half. The longest session was 3 hours we did when Myron came in on Thursday, I think it was. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense, but it was a great week, a lot of fun. And this week I am getting back to my normal content schedule, I guess, in terms of YouTube, the podcast, Twitter, things like that. But perhaps toning things down a little bit on the work front, hopefully to enjoy some of this sunshine while we have it here. The only other thing to say is you can grab Renegades Dating Blueprint, which is my collection of 11 books about dating, game, sexual marketplace, etc. That is priced at $69 now, but the full value of the pack is $250, so it's a great bargain. And the link for that is below. So do look at that if you'd like to read more of my writing on all of this wonderful stuff. Okay, so that's it for the notices and stuff. Let's get back into the topic at hand. So how clearly should you announce your intentions in dating? And as I said, it's really, really imperative that you are very clear in intent. But what that doesn't mean is that you have to just go up and blurt it out, And it also doesn't mean that you have to go direct. There's this whole argument between, is it better to make a direct approach to somebody that you're interested in, or an indirect approach? And actually, what I will argue is that you can make either kind of approach, but your clarity of intent needs to be there. Now, that may sound a little confusing at first, so I will unpack that a little bit as we get into the episode. But fundamentally, what you want to do, what we're all keen to do, is to filter out time wasters, because in the dating game, girls who like attention, they like that nice, warm, cuddly feeling of a guy being interested in them, can, on occasion, be apt to be time wasters. That is to say, they will take your attention gladly, but they don't necessarily have any intention of making this into anything. So, you know, you're interested, you're chatting with her, she is responding politely because she kind of likes being the center of your attention. She likes the fact that you are, you know, you're into her and you're complimenting her and you're giving her all this attention and stuff. But in the back of her mind, she knows full well that this isn't going to go anywhere because she's just not feeling it, right? You know, she doesn't fancy you. She's not interested in that way, but she's happy to let the thing go on for a while. And she'll rationalise that to herself. She'll say, yeah, well, I'm just getting to know him to see if there's, you know, if the spark magically appears. But, you know, deep down, she knows that she's not, you know, she's not interested. It's not going to go anywhere, right? Now, that is not good for you because it's wasting your time. Because, you know, you have approached her for a specific reason. You're interested in her in a romantic, sexual way. And, you know, you want to know one way or the other whether she is on board with that or not. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think anybody could argue, even the most strident feminist really could argue that that's unreasonable. I think that's just a natural, you know, human requirement really for a bit of clarity in personal relationships. And the thing to bear in mind, right, is that guys and women can get absolutely screwed over by not knowing where they stand in regard to a particular relationship. And it's really, really unhealthy and it can mess your head up. So you don't want that to happen. As I've said many times before in different bits of content, clarity and avoidance of grey areas is really, really key in terms of getting success in this area, of getting adept in this area. What you want to do, right, is be more brash, really. And you almost want to just storm into situations, make it pretty clear what you want, make it pretty clear what your thinking is, what you're, you know, the fact that you're attracted to her, and let the chips fall where they may. Now, this isn't to say that this is some amazing technique that if you just do this, you're going to be successful every time. Because you're probably not, right? There's going to be probably many occasions where she's still not going to be interested. You know, she's just not going to be feeling you, whatever. Okay, well, that's fine. But listen, if you were going to get blown out anyway, if you were going to get rejected anyway, then you might as well get rejected more quickly. Why? Because you avoid that grey area. You avoid that horrible, does she like me, doesn't she like me thing. You get around all of that. You don't have to spend nights listening to your sad Ed Sheeran or Adele or Coldplay songs, tearfully looking at photographs of her on Facebook and imagining what you two might be together and wondering why she hasn't responded to your text message, because you're just going to know, because you will have made it very clear out front what you wanted, and she will have been compelled to respond either in the affirmative or the negative. That's what you want to do. That is your aim with this whole thing. You want to put her on the line, so she has to make a decision about you one way or the other. But you can't complain if that decision goes against you, because it might do, right? That's just the way of the world. But it's better to know than not to know. It's better to be sure and to say, well, listen, I gave it a shot. You know, I made it pretty clear what I wanted. She wasn't on board. That's absolutely fine. Beautiful bit of spring water there. Yeah, you know, it's better for everybody that you gave it a shot. She's come back, and if she said no, fine. You can just go, okay, that's cool. It was great to meet you anyway. Have a nice life, and you just go on with your whatever it is that you're up to, right? You just go and meet other people and continue the process with somebody else elsewhere, right? That is just better. And also as well, right, it makes you into a more attractive guy, because if you are the sort of guy who is very forthright and he knows what he wants and he's not afraid to express that, then that's just kind of sexier, that's just kind of hotter for the girl than some guy who tries to hide behind a facade and isn't willing to express himself fully and to own his sexuality, to own his desire. And that's just a bit weedy, and it's just a bit not very interesting to the woman. So you're going to put yourself in a better frame if you are somebody who's just up front and who owns what they want, if you like. And also as well, you know, there's a certain honesty about this, which I think is very compelling. The counter argument to that is that people will say, yeah, man, but you know, you guys got to get to know each other, right? You know, you've got to sort of like understand one another, and you know that takes time, and so you know you need to take her out, and you need to go on 16 dates, and you need to really talk about your feelings and about the classic works of art that you like, and literature and cinema, and blah blah blah. And all of that is nonsense, really. Yes, there is a time and a place for engaging in those kinds of conversations. There's certainly a time and a place for discussing, you know, the classics, for discussing culture and other things that you're into. That's absolutely fine. But in the early stages, she needs to know in what context you are doing that, okay? Because if you're not careful, then what you'll end up with is a friend who you talk to about modern French cinema or whatever it is, but she's not interested in sleeping with you. And that is not what you want, because if you are interested in her in that way, then, you know, that's just not what you signed up for. So you need to establish the context before you get into the sort of, you know, deeper, meaningful stuff, right? So there is never an excuse for not showing your intent up front, okay? However, does that mean that you have to go direct? Now, when we talk about going direct, and I'm sure you know this because you've listened to my content and you are familiar with this kind of thing, but basically there are two ways in which you can approach somebody you like. You can go direct, or you can go indirect. Direct is basically walking up to her and saying, hey, I just saw you, I think you are really cute, I wanted to get to know you more, my name is Troy. That is an example of a direct approach. The other thing you can do is that you can go indirect, and what that means is you walk up to her and say, hey, I just saw you picking up those rather large aubergines in the supermarket. Do you like aubergines? I heard they're really good to make this particular dish. Or something like that, right? You know what I'm saying? You open her, that is to say you start the conversation, but you don't open her and express your interest immediately. So there's a difference between the two things, between direct, where you just say, hey, you're really sexy, I like you, I wanted to come talk to you, or indirect, where you make a sort of excuse, if you like, in order to start the conversation. Now, it might sound, from my preamble, like I am recommending that you always go direct with this podcast. And actually, do you know what? 9 times out of 10, I think going direct is the best way. It's just my preferred route. As I've said before, I like to cut the crap. I don't like to mess around. I like to show my intent in a very obvious way. I think it's very masculine. I think it is. It's very honest as well, right? Because, you know, you are literally putting it out there. If you walk up to somebody and begin a conversation with them, they want to know why you're doing that. If you say, I'm attracted to you, in so many words, then that is the most honest way of proceeding, right? So I like direct for those reasons. But having said that, you don't actually have to go direct. It's perfectly fine to approach from an indirect angle. If you want to, you could still show intent, okay? And in fact, you need to show intent. You need to show intent even more, but the words coming out of your mouth don't necessarily need to be direct. The words coming out of your mouth can be, oh, so I saw you coming out of the post office. It looks like you had plenty of mail to drop off. Is that the best post office to use? I heard there's another one up the road that delivers orders more quickly. I mean, that's a crap one, but you know what I'm saying, right? You go in with the indirect line, but you still want to be showing intent. How do you do that? Okay, well, you do that through a number of things. You do it through the way that you come across, okay, the vibe that you present, and that is things like eye contact, it is the way that you stand, It is your proximity to her, and your proximity ideally is going to be quite close. It is the way that you look at her. Okay, eye contact again. As I said, eye contact really, really key. Eye contact in a pickup situation, in an attraction seduction situation, is so powerful that actually eye contact on its own can pretty much do all of the heavy lifting for you, right? You almost don't need anything else other than that eye contact, right? So you can go in and you can be talking to her about the post office, and you can be talking about the deliveries, and oh my god, but do they do next day delivery? Do they deliver before at a certain time in the day, or is it going to be, do you have to stay in your house all day waiting for that delivery? Can you not get them to deliver within a certain time frame, within a certain window in the afternoon or morning, or whatever it is, whatever nonsense you're talking about. But if you've got strong eye contact and you are looking at her full on, and she can see that you have that underlying interest in her that is sexual or romantic in nature, then that is going to be very clear, and that is going to make it very obvious what it is that you actually want, okay? And then, when you do that, and if you're particularly right, and this is key, you want to have a bit of a cheeky smile on your face as well. You want to look a little bit naughty, a little bit like, I know what I'm doing, you know really what I'm doing. It's a sort of a shared secret between the two of us, but I'm not going to vocalize it directly at this stage because I don't have to, because actually there's a little bit of a game going on between us. But it's a game, crucially, that you are in charge of at this point, not her, right? Because you want to be the dominant character in the interaction. You want to maintain that power. You want to have a bit of mystery about you, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, even though you have opened the interaction indirectly, you are still communicating your intent, because you're communicating it with your body language. You're communicating it with every other aspect of you apart from what you say. Now, contrast that, right, with the dude who sees this attractive girl. Say he's walking down the street and she's walking out of Starbucks. She's absolutely stunning. She's blonde. She's got a wonderful little floaty summer dress on. She's carrying an iced frappuccino daintily and typing into her iPhone, and her blonde hair is glistening on her shoulders as she trips daintily down the street. Okay, great. So our hero, who is a somewhat nervous guy who is new to the seductive arts, sees her and he thinks, right, okay, I'm going to go and approach. I'm going to go and talk to her because I listen to these podcasts the whole time, and Troy Francis says you should go in and approach, so I'm going to do that. But he is not confident of himself enough to go directly, and he doesn't want to show intent. So he goes in and he walks up to her and says, hey, I just saw you coming out of Starbucks. Can you tell me, do they serve hot chocolates in this branch? Now, she might look at him and say, yes, they do, or no, they don't, or I didn't notice, or whatever. She'll probably be polite. She'll probably answer the question. But then where does he go from there, right? He is going to have to make some sort of transition in order to make that into, a romantic or a dating type scenario, right? Because at the moment, all she knows is that some dude's come up to her and asked about hot chocolate. And because he hasn't communicated any intent at all, because remember, because he's nervous, and because he doesn't know about this stuff, and because he's probably not, fully in command of his body, his energy is probably off, he won't have, given her that strong eye contact. He won't have stood in front of her in that kind of dominant manner. He won't have made her feel the sexuality coursing through his veins, which is to underpin the whole interaction, right? So as far as she's concerned, this is just some dude, some nice guy, some chump coming up and asking about hot chocolate. She'll answer the question politely, and then she will walk on. Now then, he might try to stop her and sort of, to say, but hang on a minute, but is it, but do they put cream on top of the hot chocolate, and do they put those little sprinkles of chocolate over the cream, and what's it like, and is it tasty, do they do a dark hot chocolate thing. You know, he might try to elongate the conversation and talk about some other stuff. But that still is not going to do him any good, because she might humour him, saying, I mean, she might tell him to F off, but she might humour him, right? She might be like, yeah, you know, they do great hot chocolate, blah, blah, blah. But he is still then going to have to, at some point, transition this into a thing where he is saying, look, actually, I like you. You know, maybe, how about we pop back in and I'll grab hot chocolate and we can sit together and I'll taste it and see if you're lying to me or whatever. You know, he's going to have to try and find some way to sort of transition it round, so that he can either ask her for her phone number or ask her for a date or whatever it is. That is much harder to do, and it is incongruent for him to do that if he hasn't shown that clarity of intent up front, because it just jars. It's just like, well, hang on a minute, a second ago you were the nice guy and you were like asking me about hot chocolate, and now suddenly you're hitting on me. And that's where these accusations of creepiness comes in, because it feels creepy to her. It feels incongruent. It feels weird and jarring and just out of the blue. You know, it's like, well, hang on a minute. When did this go from you were asking me what appeared to be a very honest, you know, innocent question about a drink, and now you're trying to hit on me? That's really weird, right? So you want to avoid that. And actually, right, you see, here's the paradox. The nice guy thinks, I'm just going to go in with this really nice little question about hot chocolate, and you know, I'm going to make her feel really comfortable, and then hopefully she'll see the golden shining like inner me, you know, and then I will sort of turn things around and I'll make it, you know, that I'm asking her out or I'm asking her on a date or whatever. But by then she will have, you know, she'll feel comfortable in my presence, and yeah, it'll all be wonderful. And then she'll come on a date with me, and we'll get married and have 16 kids together and live in Switzerland, or whatever his particular fantasy is. But unfortunately, that rarely works, because, as I say, it's jarring, it's disconnected, it doesn't flow. Okay, what flows is when a guy comes up and stops her, but he is emanating that desire in him. He is making it clear what he really wants, even if he's not actually verbalizing it directly. He's still making it clear through his body language and everything else. And that's how the player presents himself. You know, this is how the guy who does this kind of thing all the time presents. Okay, he is, you know, clearly somebody who is very comfortable around women. He's comfortable being sexual around women. Okay, this is the other thing. He's comfortable around being flirtatious. He doesn't have to try and hide it, because generally speaking, he's successful, right? And that's the other thing, you know, if you are successful with this stuff more often than not, then why would you try to hide it? Why would you try to tamp down your sexuality, your your desire, your interest in her in that carnal way? You know, you wouldn't have to tamp it down, because most of the time when you do this stuff, it flies, it goes well, right? So you want to show that. Now, and this is the thing, right? Even if you aren't normally successful, you want to make it look like you are. And so you do that by being very upfront. I mean, here's the thing, guys. The more comfortable you can get with your sexuality, the more unashamed you are, the more open you are about expressing it, then the more success you're going to have, all right? And in fact, if there's one piece of advice about game and dating that I could bottle and sell so I'd be a millionaire, it would be that openness about one's sexual nature, openness about one's desire. If you can get that down, then that is worth more than all of the lines, all of the chat-up lines, all of the techniques, all of the openers that you could ever learn, because it's just that. It's that willingness, that ability to be comfortable with that side of your nature, and to be comfortable with sharing that with the girl, that's really going to get you over the line. The last thing I wrote down for this episode is own it. You know, you got to own your sexuality. You got to own the fact that you desire her, that you're interested in her. Doesn't mean that you need her, but it means that you like her and you want to learn more, you want to understand more about her, and you're not afraid to show that, you know? That's what you need to do. Now, as I say, this is not fail-safe. This is not some kind of thing that if you just do X, Y, and Z, then she's definitely going to be interested and she's going to fall at your feet and it's all going to be wonderful. No, not at all. Of course not. But you put yourself in a better, a better ballpark for that happening just by the fact that you've owned your sexuality. You've shown yourself to be a superior guy who more often than not gets what he wants, which is good. And even if she does say no, even if she does say, listen, thank you for the approach, but actually, I'm not interested, I have a boyfriend, whatever, she's going to respect you more, right? Because she's going to be like, this is a guy, he came up, he took a shot, he owned it, and that's it. And you guys can say goodbye and walk away, and everybody's happy. Or maybe not happy, but all is good, right? It's far better to be like that, owning that clarity of intent, than it is to be somebody who hides it, this weaselly guy who tries to hide beneath the veneer of being polite and nice and smarmy, and it just doesn't work. It's just horrible and uncomfortable and creepy and awkward, and you've got to get away from that. So go direct, go indirect, whatever seems appropriate to the moment, but have that twinkle in your eye, right? Have that little glint, have that sort of like sense of energy about you, that little bit of excitement, that fact that I'm a guy and I'm a sexual being, and so are you. Well, you're not a guy, but you're a sexual being, and this is completely natural. This is the most natural thing in the world. Not everyone's going to accept that frame, but it doesn't matter, right? Because you are going out there authentically, being radically honest, and owning your feelings in that moment. And that, my friends, is incredibly powerful, and that is what you should be doing if you want to become adept in this area. Anyway, listen, that is it from me for today. I hope you got something from that. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please do hit subscribe to this YouTube channel to help me build up the army of followers that are currently amassing to this channel, and it will just help me to sort of continue to put out this content, free content, etc., etc. Also, if you do want to support me further, then if you want to grab my collection of 11 books about dating, game, the sexual marketplace, all of these techniques all wrapped up together. I cover loads of stuff in there. I cover everything from the basics, the fundamentals of approaching a game, all the way through to what to do at sort of sex parties, BDSM parties, all this kinds of stuff. There's just loads and loads of stuff in there. How to be the bad boy in my book, How to Be an Arsehole. There's just so much material in there that I've amassed over the last sort of 5-6 years. Hit the link below. You can get that. It's called Renegade Dating Blueprint. And beyond that, just stay tuned, hit subscribe to the channel, stay tuned, and I'll be back with some more content very soon. Bye-bye.